and thank you for watching the forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent, and we have some pretty interesting guests today. We're going to be speaking to Cultivating Community North Valley, and we are here with Katrina Djebaroff.
Nice.
I got it. And she is the workshop coordinator and publicist for Cultivating Community North Valley. And we are also here with Lee Altier. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And he is a professor of horticulture at Chico State University. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
What is Cultivating Community all about?
Yeah.
Tell us about you guys.
Cultivating Community is a program. It's funded by a USDA grant through the California Department of Food and Agriculture.
Okay.
It's one of the specialty crop block grants
Wow.
that's really funded through the Farm Bill. And it's administered by the Research and Sponsored Programs Office at Chico State.
So, okay, a little over my head on that one. I got the Farm Bill.
Okay.
But
That's the background.
yeah, let's back up just a little bit there. I want to find out, how did you guys even come together to kind of create this organization of what we have right here that we don't know quite yet what is?
It really came out of a concern about food insecurity in Butte County and around the Chico area.
Explain that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, people like nutritionists, people who were working with the farmers market, people who were involved in agriculture, were concerned that we're losing farmers around the area. And we wanted to look for a way to promote and support local farmers, to encourage and make sure we continue to have a local farm production, and also make sure that consumers were aware of the value of that production and were making use of it, but also to educate people about how to grow their own crops.
Oh, that's
and know how to use those commodities.
So do you teach things about sustainability, essentially?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
And particularly self-sustainability, empowerment.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So Katrina, wouldn't you say we're really aggressively trying to attack food insecurity problems in the area?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot about access to healthy whole foods at farmers markets, growing awareness and education about how to wrap our minds around how to grow food, how to buy food, how to cook food, how to like prepare and preserve, to pickle, to ferment.
Oh, I love that.
So you provide workshops and training for all that. So if I wanted to learn how to pickle or how to make preserves, I could sign up for one of your workshops.
Yes.
And how would I find out about what kind of things you have going on?
Yeah, probably the best place to go is to visit our website, which is cultivatingcommunitynv.org. And we have a calendar of events for our Cultivating Community North Valley workshops. We also have a community page of community activities. So if you're wanting to look for something to do along the same vein, you could also go there and find out.
That's great. So is that like your community page? Is that where people can go and kind of relate to other people who are growing their own food, or is that a community page, kind of what you're talking about? Similar
It's
to
like a calendar. It's more like a calendar.
Okay.
We do have a Facebook page, and a lot of that kind of interaction happens there.
Oh, that's great.
This is really a comprehensive project.
Yeah, I can tell.
We've been trying to take a very holistic approach to food insecurity.
Yeah.
So as Katrina said, we're talking about how to develop community gardens.
Yeah.
And in fact, the project has been involved with at least 25 community gardens around Chico.
Wow.
And there's been over 500 people who have been participating in those community gardens. So
And how does that community garden work?
well, they're learning how to set up the garden, establish garden beds, learning about what seed is appropriate for the area at the particular time of year.
Oh, yeah.
So how to grow it, how to manage
Crop rotation,
Yeah.
irrigation, all of
pest
these.
management.
But when they
Yeah.
come to be part of that community garden, what do they get to come and get the fruit and the vegetables anytime they want? How does that work? How does the community garden work?
Each community garden is run and organized a little differently. We have all of the gardens on our website, and certain gardens actually have work days. So if you're bored and you're like, what do I want to do? I want to go like check out the garden. You can go to the website, and there's a contact number and the hours and the days, and you can go and, you know, children are welcome, anybody's welcome, and you go and learn and harvest stuff, take it home.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty hands-on practical. If somebody wants to do their own garden, but they live in an apartment, for example, they have no place to garden. So they could plug in through there.
These are outdoor classrooms.
Exactly.
And you can do container gardens.
Okay.
Like if you're in an apartment, that doesn't limit you. You got a little stoop, you can grow so much in a little pot or in your window or whatever.
And you do the education on that.
Yeah.
So because frankly, as somebody who really, I don't like getting my nails dirty. I'm not a garden person at all. It's a little bit scary because I'm like, gosh, I love tomatoes. I'd love to have fresh tomatoes, but I'm a little bit, because of the unknown, you know, I don't know how to do it. So someplace like your organization would be so great because you could baby step me into this whole creating my own, right? Growing my own.
And
So
it's
this neat.
Sorry.
Oh, the garden becomes a venue for the workshops.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so great about that. And even, do you show how to do the pickling too? Because I was actually the opposite of you, Christy. I don't like to get my nails dirty, but I grew a garden. We had 6 big garden beds.
Wow.
And I grew a ton of stuff. And I had all this produce, and I didn't know what to do with it.
This is all about self-empowerment.
Yes,
Totally.
it feels really good when you are going to your garden and you are picking your own fruit and vegetables and serving that to your family. It feels amazing. It really does. But I wouldn't know what to do after the fact.
And it doesn't do you any good if you're growing parsnips and radicchio and you don't know what to do with it.
Right. Exactly. Do you offer recipes? Do you offer the next? You do.
Well, have you heard about our edible petal?
I was just going to say.
No, but I want to hear about it. I love
This
the
is
name.
a fabulous project that was instigated by our nutritionist, Karen Goodwin.
Okay.
And it's a bicycle-powered mobile kitchen. So,
What?
So there's
Karen-
gas and the gray water receptacle. They prepare food right there in your community garden or right there at the farmer's market. Little
fun.
recipes, little tastes.
Oh, that is a cute idea.
Yeah. And then
I
it's
love that.
inspiring. You get on your bike and get some exercise, eat some healthy food that's actually, you find out it's how easy it is to prepare and how delicious it is. I mean, if you can make it in a bike, I want to do that. That's awesome.
So you guys do that. What an exciting and really meaningful component of your organization. I understand you also have put together some training, if you will, for local organizations that want to provide for EBT, people who are using EBT. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Right. We offer support to all the farmers markets in terms of getting set up as much as is needed, but to make sure that all of the farmers markets around the area are EBT enabled. And not only that, we've done a lot to promote EBT use at the
think
farmers
that's
market.
fantastic.
Too. So instead of
So
going
everyone-
to the grocery store and loading up on processed junk,
Everyone
they're
has
able to come to the farmer's market and get really fresh, whole food produce and products, and then ideas on what to do with it.
Yeah,
because
because
seriously, the first time you buy chard, you're like, now what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're educated, it's easier to buy a bag of chips than a bunch of chard, right? And it's easier to eat the chips than the chard, but then once you teach them how to do the chard, then suddenly they have a viable choice, an alternative.
But the other part about that, I think, is that you also are reaching a target market that's never been able to be reached before when you do something like that. Because oftentimes, you know, people who can afford to eat healthy they can afford to eat healthy, and that's why they know it. They had access to the funds to buy the fruit, and they're a little more educated on that. So I love that you really are going to another target and saying, hey, we are making sure that this is all across the board, everyone can use this.
By the terms of our grant, in fact, the EBT coupons can, and the CalFresh support that we provide can only be used for specialty crops.
Oh, I love it.
That's
So
sweet.
we provide tokens as an incentive to use their CalFresh card at the market.
So they can
But-
just swipe their card and get tokens and then
Use them
purchase
wherever.
vegetables. Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
And something I wanted to just take it a moment to say is that the whole foods, like fruits and vegetables, aren't as expensive as we perceive them to be. Like if you went to a few different grocery stores and compared prices, you'll see they're relatively very similar. And then going to the farmer's market or going to your community garden, by growing food, whether a container garden or community garden or whatever, all of a sudden you're creating all of this abundance. You get your neighbors involved, the kids involved, you have all of this food that you're just free, and then you can even grow the vegetables out and save your seeds, so you don't have to buy seeds in the winter to plant for the next. And so it's just a way to like kind of going back to our roots of having a direct connection with the environment and through the food that we eat.
I love it.
All about self-empowerment.
That's right.
Yeah, and
Knowing what you're putting in your body and how to get hold of it.
And then like we're all experts, like we're all teachers, we're all students, and going out to, that's the beautiful thing of all of these workshops that we've had is every single presenter, by the end, they walk away saying, oh, I don't know the answer to that, or I learned something today.
Right.
And so we all have something to contribute and share.
Right.
So what if someone couldn't make it to your workshops? Is there a way that they can see this online? Or have you guys not gone there yet?
We actually post material from the
do you?
workshops
Okay.
online.
That's great.
On our Facebook page, not all of that like documentation is on our website. However, we do have a resources tab where we've scanned agendas and documents and like worksheets or whatever. So you can actually go and access that information and just print it
Anytime.
out. Yeah.
And the neat thing is, even if they don't have a computer, they can go to the library and use the library computer.
Absolutely.
So
I'm
everything
glad you
can be
mentioned
found at cultivatingcommunitynv.org. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This was so interesting. Be sure to check out the website. We've had another awesome first half, and stay with us. We'll be back in just a minute with the second half of our show here at the Forum.
Hi, and we are back with Glory Ann Wiegand. Right. Is that correct? Right. All right. I want to make sure I don't get these names wrong. And she is the president of the Fort Crook Museum. So we will be talking about all this rich history that's happened up in Fall River. So tell us a little bit more about this museum.
Well, the Fort Crook Museum was built in 1963 and it is built in the same structure as the round barn, which we later in life moved to the museum. But anyhow, it's a 3-story structure with a viewing tower on the top.
And what are you viewing from the viewing tower?
The valley.
So, okay, let's go back a little bit, because I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, who is General Crook, that I'm guessing the museum was named after, and where are you located, and who was he, and why do we have a museum about him?
Well, it's not about him, but it's named about him. Okay. There was a fort in Fall River Valley, and it was built in 1857. And it was supposed to be right by the river, which we are close to the river, but it was better to put it out 7 miles into the valley, out in the center of the valley, because we were too close to where the Native Americans were causing problems. So that's why they started Fort Crook. And actually Fort Bidwell was, or Fort Jones was built, and then they sent all the soldiers to Fort Crook. And so that's what it was there. And Fort Crook actually was started in 1857, but it was officially abandoned in 1869, and they sent all the soldiers to Fort Bidwell up in Modoc County because they were having problems there.
So this was, all these were founded, if you will, started by the federal government in response to the Native American quote-unquote activity in the area, and they were, the forts were designed to quell the Native American activity. Is that correct?
That was right.
And so all those years ago, it started 1850s. It was closed in the late 18.
It was only open 2 years.
Okay, 2 years.
Yes.
But it was actually abandoned in 1869.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
right.
Okay, so then because the activity had died down in the area, or what was the, okay.
Yes. So, and then too, General Crook was at the fort, but he wasn't the major person there, but he was injured there. So that's why they named the fort after him in honor of him.
Was he fatally injured?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. No,
Okay.
if you read your history, he was in with Geronimo, and he was in a lot of other major battles. So he was a very notable, famous, yeah.
No, how
famous
did he
general.
get injured at?
I'm not sure.
Oh, no, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is in Round Mountain?
No, Fall River Valley.
Fall River Valley. And so when did the museum come about?
Okay.
And how did that happen?
Okay, the museum was built, the main building was built in 1963.
Okay.
We've been adding and adding. We now have 11 buildings.
Oh,
We are probably one of the largest museums and well-kept museums in Northern California. And we recently, our last building that we put up was a tack room that we moved from a ranch. But probably our most notable building is the Round Barn.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Okay,
Tell us about the
Round Barn it's huge.
It is.
And what it was built for was to train cavalry horses. So they had a racetrack around the center of the building, or the outer part of the building,
Okay.
and a hayloft up above. And then, so it was out about 20 miles towards Little Valley from the museum, and it was donated to the museum, and it took us 2 years to tear it down, but it was 100 years old. Okay. So it was in such poor shape and it lost the roof and everything, that we really couldn't use a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so with our building codes and everything, we had to have all new structure material.
I want to stop you for just a second because I want you to tell the viewers how this was originally built. I mean, the original round barn.
Barn was built.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking 1916, no power tools or anything. It was
No power tools, guys.
right. This was built in one day, less than a year, by 15 Native Americans and Mr. Johnson. And they, of course, hauled a lot of the timber, from outer places.
Yeah.
The shingles came from Bartle, which was quite a, that was 2 days wagon ride, to Bartle to get these shingles. So anyhow, and so they built it because he had a bet, and so that's what they built it for.
Did you say he had a what?
A bet. He bet somebody he could build it in less than a year. So.
They get themselves in so much trouble, these little
Right. So,
they have to build a round barn.
So then when you guys redid it and you had to use new materials and so forth, but you did it in the historic style.
it is built exactly.
Wow.
Exactly like the original.
Like the
And how
original.
long did it take you guys?
Well, let's see. Do you want to talk about that?
4 years comes to mind.
Okay. We started taking it down in 2007. We
Right.
had to move it 20 miles.
Okay.
And piece by piece, which we numbered, we took pictures,
Wow.
and so we could put it all back together. The only original part of the barn is the feed racks and the gates and the inner part, and so there's huge big gates, and you would open those gates, and that would make it so there was a complete track around to break the horses.
And it took how long?
Well, let's see, 4 years.
So wow, but that included tearing it down.
No.
That's just building.
Well, and remember, we have to make money to do this too, but a lot of volunteers, our community just really all came together. The men peeled all the poles with draw knives like they used to be.
Wow.
Actually, the center pole, which is huge, my husband, who was one of the main peelers, or one of the peelers, anyhow, he had nightmares about this. And these guys, it was another bet.
Okay.
In an hour, these men peeled this pole, and
In an hour?
chips were flying. Yes, there was
goodness.
8 guys working on it.
Oh, my
And it was
goodness.
huge.
Oh, my
yeah.
How
goodness.
big is the actual building? The round barn, how large is it?
I really didn't bring those
Numbers,
things, but
okay, no
it's
problem.
huge. It's huge. And then the very top, it's built like an umbrella, like you would open an umbrella, and that's what holds the peak up.
Oh, wow.
And so it's
Wow.
just amazing.
A structural marvel.
It is.
It
So
is.
you,
If
that's
you look
one of
at it.
11 buildings, you
Yes.
said. So what other, I know you have a black shop. Tell us
Well, we have the
about
main
that.
building, and we have the James Showcase, which is like a Victorian home, like it depicts 3 different you go down a glass hallway and there's 3 rooms on each side. And
that's
so we have the Pittville Schoolhouse, which was built in 1884, and it was moved 10 miles in 1994 when it was 100 years old. And then we...
You guys are really into moving buildings.
Yes,
They're making their own little amusement park of history, if you will.
and then we have the pony,
all over the area.
the pony barn that went with the Pittville School, where the kids, when they rode to school on their horses, that's
Sure.
where they kept their ponies.
Oh my goodness.
We have a log cabin that is from 1880 or 1800, and it is like a home would be.
Yeah.
We have the fort cabin. It was one of the original buildings from the fort, and it was the officers' quarters.
Oh, wow.
And so when we have our Pioneer Day, the Fort Crook Dragoon soldiers come and reenact.
Oh, wow.
everything.
And when is the Pioneer Day?
It's the first Saturday in June every year.
Okay.
And-
That's something to mark
Yeah.
on your calendars
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
And they have furnished it as with their uniforms and all their fixtures that they had.
Yeah.
And it's 2-story, and actually they've made wooden bunks upstairs like they used to have.
So I have a question. How are you funded? How is this museum funded?
Donations and our fundraisers that we have. I mean, and it's no admission.
Oh.
And so
It's free?
it's free to go. Yes,
wow.
yes, it is.
So when you go up there, just so I can get an idea of what it's like, so now that you've moved all these buildings around, is it like going and then you just get to go from building to building to building and see, even though it was spread out when you originally got it, and you've now put it all together so people can just walk through it?
It's almost like a little town.
So it's
I
like a
love
Williamsburg
it.
of the West,
Yes.
right here in Northern California.
And we have the original jail from town that we moved.
Do people dress up in costume that work there, your docents?
Well, no, we don't.
Well, there's an idea for
But
you.
we do on Pioneer Day, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're just really a very busy organization.
What's your favorite thing about, I mean, obviously you're so passionate about this.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. What's your favorite thing, like your must see? If we come up to visit, what is the one thing that we really must see?
I love the James Showcase. That's the Victorian home.
Okay.
And it was, the Perkins family donated all of their grandparents' things out of their Victorian home there, and it is gorgeous. But it was built by the Perkins family, who had a pumice brick factory, and so it was pea green pumice brick. And so
What kind of brick?
pumice brick.
It's pumice brick.
Pumice brick. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
I don't know. I'm not
Okay,
familiar with that.
Okay, and it was like I say, pea green. So last year, my husband and I spent the winter wallpapering all of this building.
Wow.
And first we did the parlor and the kitchen, which is right next to her, which we have a picture of the kitchen. It just looks so awful, and I said, we've just got to do something about that kitchen if I can find the paper. He was looking through one of the old cupboards, and there was the paper from 1950 that was for the original house.
Wow.
And it is just darling.
From 1850, you mean?
1950, this house was still in use.
And
Yeah.
your husband knows what he got himself into.
No, he loves the
You're
wallpaper.
she's running a museum.
sweatshop.
She's running a museum, but she gets to redecorate homes.
Yeah, right.
That job.
Yeah, so, anyhow.
How long have you been involved?
Actually, 10 years ago, we sold our ranch and moved to Fall River Valley, and they asked me if I would take over secretary for a short time, and that was 10 years ago. I was secretary. Now I'm president.
Queen,
so yeah.
Queen Mama.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is great. And then, I mean, it is such a worthwhile project. We have school tours, and
Oh, I think that's fantastic.
and we have an antique tractor show, and we have the Shelley Creek Rendezvous, which
Now, when are you open?
1st of May,
Until?
end of October.
Okay, so
Yes.
May through October, you can come up and visit
During the
the
great
Fort
months.
Crook Museum, which is so much more than a building. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Yeah,
Thanks so
so-
much for watching the forum, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.